This is the VOA Special English Education Report. The Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in the American state of South Dakota is home to the Oglala Sioux tribe. It's also where Nikki Ouellette is in her first year as the journalism teacher at Little Wound High School. Miss Ouellette teaches the 12 students on the school newspaper, the Mustang News. She helps them choose story ideas if they need help. She says, sometimes if we're getting stuck, I'll kind of guide them along. But especially lately, they've been the one picking the articles. One student wanted to write her own column, comparing the weather to different parts of her own life. Another student wanted to start writing some song reviews. So now every 2 weeks, she picks out a couple of songs and writes a review about them. The reporters also cover news like a recent flood at the school caused by a broken water pipe. Yet the real story here is that Nikki Ouellette is the school's first journalism teacher in years. The Mustang News had stopped publishing. But now, not only is it back, copies are included every other week in the Lakota Country Times, a local newspaper. This way, school news reaches parents and other people in the community. Other student newspapers have been incorporated into Native American papers, but not many. The publisher of the Lakota Country Times, Connie Smith, says the public has welcomed the idea. She says, everywhere I go, people are talking to me about how proud they are. The kids do the news. They do the interviews. They take the pictures. Sometimes a teacher may have something that goes in, but mostly it's the students. Connie Smith says the quality is as good as some of the stories that are written by community members for the Lakota Country Times. The idea inspired 2 other schools on the Pine Ridge Reservation to publish their own papers. They take turns being included in the Times. Brooke Chase Alone works on the Mustang News at Little Wound High School. She says her favorite story so far has been covering the history of the annual Bigfoot ride. This is a 2-week trail ride from the Standing Rock Reservation to Wounded Knee. Wounded Knee was where government soldiers killed more than 200 Sioux in 1890. The Army called it a battle. Indians called it a massacre. Brooke has a personal connection to the story she wrote. Her grandfather, Percy White Plume, helped start the Bigfoot ride and one of the original riders, she says. She went to his house and interviewed him about his experience. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti. For more ways to learn American English and stay informed every day, go to voaspecialenglish.com from your computer or mobile device.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. About 1/5 of Americans aged 6 to 19 are considered overweight. To reduce that number, some schools are teaching children to make better food choices. The E.W. Stokes Public Charter School in Washington has started to include food topics in its 3rd grade math and English programs. The school formed a partnership with Seedling Projects, an environmental group in San Francisco, California. Peter Nally is a curriculum director for a program called Farm to Desk. He says they are doing this in part to address the issue of childhood obesity. He says One of the main components of our program is our belief that if kids are exposed to positive and healthy messaging about food throughout the instructional day, that has the most potential to impact long-term change. Teacher Hannah Chen recently used food examples to teach 8 and 9-year-olds in a math class how to make combinations. For example, they figured out the different combinations that could be made with a pizza and 2 toppings. School chef Makisha Day says the school buys most of its food from local farms. But the school has a garden for the students to grow some of the vegetables themselves. The children, they love it, she says. Teacher Hannah Chen agrees. She says, "We have a salad bar at the school, and now the kids love the salad bar. They love the fruits and vegetables. So I think it is making a big difference in their lives." She says the 3rd graders have also learned to read the sugar and fat content listed on food packages. She says the E.W. Stokes Public Charter School in Washington plans to expand the Farm to Desk program to other grades next year. Charter schools get public money but do not have to follow the same rules as traditional public schools. Many charter schools have specialized areas of study, like Environmental Charter High School near Los Angeles. Students learn the importance of protecting the environment. Rigo Estrada says he used to be the kind of person who threw trash on the street. But now he has done things like clean up beaches and teach elementary school students about the importance of water conservation. He says he now knows that going green actually is a really serious topic. Students learn from teachers and outside experts, like the owner of an environmentally friendly business. They also learn how to prepare a business plan that they can use to help pay for college. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. This is the VOA Special English Education Report. A few years ago, a university researcher was having problems with an experiment that involved medical imaging. His advisor and his friends had no solutions. The researcher was Iyad Madish at Harvard in Massachusetts. "I was so frustrated," he says. His solution was to start a scientific network for researchers. It lets them connect with each other and share information about their research and their publications. ResearchGate is similar to another social network developed at Harvard, Facebook. But Mr. Madish says the purpose of his site is to make scientists more productive. He says his goal is to win a Nobel Prize. If we think that ResearchGate will accelerate research in all the different fields, it will change the speed of science significantly in the future. So I definitely do believe that ResearchGate could win the Nobel Prize for that one day. Mr. Madish received the support of investors, including a former Facebook executive and the same investment group that put money into Twitter. So far, 900,000 people have signed up as members of ResearchGate. One of those users is Caroline Moore Cokeless at Boston University. Her profile page shows her picture and her specialty, neuroscience. It also lists her doctoral advisor and the work she has published. She can follow other researchers and click on to group pages that discuss different subjects. She also uses Facebook, but says people almost never discuss science there. She says on ResearchGate, she can ask questions and learn about what other researchers are working on before they publish their results. She can also learn about recently published science. She says, the scientific literature is so huge at this point that it's really impossible to get through everything in your topic area. People really rely on hearing it from other people. But not every user is pleased with ResearchGate. Kim Bertrand at the Harvard School of Public Health is an epidemiologist, someone who studies the spread and control of diseases. Ms. Bertrand says she finds more value in her own offline network of researchers and advisors than in this online network. She says, sometimes I get these emails that are like, "Dear Sirs, I'm writing a dissertation on public health. Any suggestions? Please advise." I don't need that. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. To read and listen to more stories, go to voaspecialenglish.com. This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Stephen Weinberger is the Director of Linguistics in the English Department at George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia. Students in his beginning phonetics class are mostly interested in teaching English as a second language. They wanted to study how non-native speakers pronounce different sounds. So we sent the students out to record non-native speakers, and we compared those speakers to each other and to native speakers of English. Professor Weinberger wrote a 69-word paragraph for all of the speakers to read. The paragraph uses common words but contains almost all of the sounds used in English. Here it is. Please call Stella. Ask her to bring these things with her from the store: 6 spoons of fresh snow peas, 5 thick slabs of blue cheese, and maybe a snack for her brother Bob. We also need a small plastic snake and a big toy frog for the kids. She can scoop these things into 3 red bags, and we will go meet her Wednesday at the train station. In 1999, Professor Weinberger put the recordings online. The Speech Accent Archive is for anyone who wants to compare and analyze the accents of different English speakers. Some people think the archive would be better if it included natural speech, people talking freely, not just reading the same words. Professor Weinberger recognizes the strengths and weaknesses of his site. The biggest plus, of course, is that it is so uniform that you can immediately compare a Kiswahili speaker to a native English speaker. But the downside is that a less than skilled reader will have difficulties with the paragraph that might not demonstrate their true phonetic abilities. People often use sounds from their first language, until they can reproduce the ones used in the language they are learning. Professor Weinberger says the site gets 1 million visits a month. We get notices from speech pathologists, from computational engineers who do speech processing, from PhD students who want to do research on bias and accent judgments, from actors who need to learn a special part. The archive contains more than 1,500 recordings. Professor Weinberger would like more people to send in their own samples. There are about 6,000 languages in the world today. The archive only has samples from about 350 of them. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. This week on our program, we answer a question from Japan. A listener named Maki would like to know if the test known as the TOEIC is popular in the United States. TOEIC is the test of English for international communication. It measures the ability of people to communicate in the workplace using everyday English. The Educational Testing Service in Princeton, New Jersey, develops and administers the TOEIC. It says more than 9,000 organizations use the test in more than 90 countries. Each year, the TOEIC is taken in the United States about 20,000 times. So how popular does that make it? Well, consider that last year the test was given more than 5 million times worldwide. Non-native English speakers take the test to demonstrate their English skills when seeking a new job or a promotion. Some organizations use the TOEIC to measure progress in English training programs and as a placement test. The cost of the test is set locally in each country. The TOEIC is really two tests. People can take one or both of them. One is a paper and pencil test. It measures listening and reading skills. The other test is given on a computer. It measures speaking and writing skills. 11 questions on the computer test require speaking. For example, the test taker is asked to read out loud or describe a picture. 8 other questions require written answers, including an opinion essay. We visited the ETS website for more information about the TOEIC, but one of the first things we saw was a warning about a phishing scam. A phishing scam is a kind of crime that uses email to trick people into providing financial or other personal information. In this case, the emails claim to be from the Educational Testing Service. Spokeswoman Christine Bettinelli advises people taking the TOEIC to be suspicious of any emails claiming to be from ETS. They should be especially suspicious of messages that ask for information that they have already provided for the test. The spokeswoman says if you get an email you are not sure about, forward it or send a separate message to contactets@ets.org. And that's the VOA Special English Education Report. You can learn more about English language tests from our Foreign Student Series at voaspecialenglish.com. You can also find transcripts, podcasts and captioned videos of our reports, and post comments and questions.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Last time, we talked about massive open online courses, also called MOOCs. Tens of thousands, or even more people, can take these classes all at once. You can be anywhere in the world to take a MOOC. All you need is a computer and a network connection. MOOCs add to a tradition of what is known as distance learning. For years, many colleges have offered classes that are taught partly or mostly online. MOOCs are available in subjects like computer science, engineering, or mechanics. Can MOOCs in subjects like arts or the humanities be as effective? Scott Anderson teaches philosophy at the University of British Columbia in Canada. He sees both good and bad sides to online courses. Mr. Anderson believes that some parts are fine. For example, when a teacher gives a presentation to the class, there is no special reason why students need to be physically present to hear it. And he says there is no reason why they need to be physically present to do readings. Mr. Anderson says increased numbers of people taking MOOCs can mean less communication between students and teachers. He says two ways to deal with this are by adding more teachers and graders and setting up online discussion groups. Lisa Jadwin teaches English and American literature and writing at St. John Fisher College in New York. She says online education has some weaknesses for her subjects. She says the teaching of literature requires face-to-face interaction. Professor Jadwin says some students could learn well from presentations and reading assignments, blogs, and discussion groups. But she believes that hybrid courses work best. She describes hybrids as mixing face-to-face course elements with computer-aided teaching and writing projects. Bill Pogue teaches communications at the University of Houston downtown. He says that after leading classes for more than 30 years, he would not attempt to teach a MOOC. However, Mr. Pogue sees good value in online education. He noted a strong sense of community in an online course he once took. He says the students worked together on a project while living on 4 continents. He says this would be hard to repeat in a traditional classroom or face-to-face setting. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti. Get more education news and learn English at voaspecialenglish.com.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. A class with tens or even hundreds of thousands of students might sound like a teacher's bad dream. But a big idea in higher education these days is the massive open online course, or MOOC. Some universities offer free non-credit MOOCs available to anyone in the world. Others charge for courses and provide credits. The idea is still developing. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology recently started its first MOOC. The school plans to offer many free non-credit courses through a project called MITx. So far, most massive open online courses are in computer science, technology, mechanics, and engineering. For example, students around the world are taking a free course called Building a Computer Search Engine. Two computer scientists, Sebastian Trun and David Evans, are offering this course through Udacity.com. Mr. Evans is on leave from the University of Virginia. Mr. Trun is a Stanford research professor and a Google Fellow best known for his work on a driverless car. For 6 weeks, the students watch short videos and then take informal quizzes. Mr. Evans says the quizzes are part of the lecture to keep students engaged and keep them thinking. The quizzes are not graded, and students can try them as often as they want, whenever they want. They can also watch the videos repeatedly. Students receive homework and join online groups to exchange questions and answers about the course. The teachers hold virtual office hours to answer questions that the students have voted to send them. They also present their own questions and observations. The students take a final examination to show where they rate in the class. Everyone who finishes the course receives a grade and proof of completion. Top students get letters documenting their work. Mr. Trun started Udacity, which supports free MOOCs. Udacity hopes to make a profit in the future by connecting possible employers with interested students. On his Stanford homepage, he says he wants to democratize education. Education, he says, should be free, accessible for all, everywhere, and anytime. David Evans says online courses can deliver high-quality education to many more students at much lower cost, but he recognizes the limits. His hope, he says, is that the best traditional universities will be able to focus on the things they can do really well that can't be done better through an online university. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. I'm Alex Villarreal with the VOA Special English Education Report. Some students get so nervous before a test, they do poorly, even if they know the material. Sion Bylock is a psychology professor at the University of Chicago in Illinois. She has studied these highly anxious test takers. She says students might even start worrying about whether this exam is going to prevent them from getting into the college they want. She says when students worry, they use up attention and memory resources that could be used on the test. Professor Bylock and another researcher, Gerardo Ramirez, have developed a possible solution. Just before an exam, highly anxious test takers spend 10 minutes writing about their worries about the test. She said when students write about their worries on paper, they think about the worst that could happen. They might realize it is not as bad as they thought it was. And writing about it prevents these thoughts from popping up when they are taking the test. The researchers tested the idea on a group of 20 anxious college students. They gave them 2 short math tests. After the first one, they asked the students to either sit quietly or write about their feelings about the upcoming second test. The researchers added to the pressure. They told the students that those who did well on the second test would get money. They also told them that their performance would affect other students as part of a team effort. Professor Bylock says those who sat quietly scored an average of 12% worse on the second test. But the students who had written about their fears improved their performance by an average of 5%. Next, the researchers used younger students in a biology class. They told them before final exams either to write about their feelings or to think about things unrelated to the test. Professor Bylock says highly anxious students who did the writing got an average grade of B+, compared to a B- for those who did not. But what if students do not have a chance to write about their fears immediately before an exam or presentation? Professor Bylock says students can try it themselves at home or in the library and still improve their performance. The researchers wrote about their findings in the journal Science. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. Tell us how you deal with anxiety before a big event. Share your comments at voaspecialenglish.com or on Facebook and Twitter at VOA Learning English. I'm Alex Villarreal with the VOA Special English Education Report. Songs teach language. Consider a song like Tom's Diner by Suzanne Vega. An American teaching English overseas once told us that students love that song. Recently, we asked people on the Special English Facebook page to suggest other songs that English learners might like. Noemi Nito wrote, "I'm one of those English students who love Tom's Diner. I started learning English with Lemon Tree by Fool's Garden. Another favorite is Truly Madly Deeply by Savage Garden." Another person, Asi Tambunan, suggested the song God Only Knows by Orianthi. Yongi Yako wrote that ABBA's songs from Sweden are perfect for class work. Other good songs for learning English are songs by the Beatles and John Lennon, as well as Louis Armstrong's Wonderful World. Paul Cifuentes says Bob Marley's songs are amazing for teaching. Another teacher, Joseph Decca, says songs by Johnny Cash have always worked in his classroom. He says his students can hear the words, plus the songs often have stories. He also likes We Will Rock You by Queen and Beautiful Girls by Sean Kingston. He says young children love C is for Cookie by Cookie Monster from the TV show Sesame Street. Nina John Smith suggested these songs: It's My Life and We Weren't Born to Follow by Bon Jovi. Also, Nothing Else Matters by Metallica. Aurelio Lorenzo Costa Guzmao says he began to like English after his teacher played the Westlife song I Have a Dream. He wrote, "That was 8 years ago. I was in the 7th grade. And from that day on, my dream of improving my English skills became attached in my mind. Teachers can use this song to convey the message to their students that they should have their own dream for the future. Aurelio's story was no surprise to another commenter, Katya Kavenko. She especially likes songs by Michael Jackson and Queen. She wrote, "When you listen to your favorite songs, you feel emotionally high, and it moves you to action." For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. Do you have any favorite songs for learning English? You can share other music suggestions for English learners at our website, voaspecialenglish.com, or on Facebook at VOA Learning English. We are also on Twitter and iTunes. This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Leaders of the world's 20 largest economies met for 3 days starting June 25th in Toronto, Canada. The group of 20 discussed the best ways to guide the world economy to a stronger recovery. The G20 is 19 countries and the European Union. Before the meeting in Toronto, international charities held the first ever Girls 20 Summit. The goal was to bring the economics power of girls and women and the importance of women's issues to the attention of G20 leaders. Organizers invited 20 young women from each of the G20 member countries. They discussed the United Nations Millennium Development Goals and better ways to meet them. The goals include cutting poverty, improving access to health care, and providing education to all children. 19-year-old Anwar Basunbui from Saudi Arabia said many Saudi women are interested in working, but they need permission from their husband or other male guardian, and there are restrictions on the professions they can join. She says her culture still believes that men are biologically more qualified to lead or rule women. She says the Saudi leadership has not failed women. Saudi women have not yet asked for what they want. Irem Tumer was the 19-year-old representative from Turkey. She says Turkey has approved many legal reforms as part of its efforts to join the European Union. But these have not necessarily been put into action. She worries about violence against women. She says the safety of girls still remains a big problem. Laws have been passed, and many police officers and other officials are being trained about this. But more widespread awareness and education for all girls is necessary to solve this problem. Irem Tumer said she would carry home 2 messages from the Girls 20 Summit. The first is the need for education. The other is the need to empower women and let them take part in business and political decision-making. The United Nations estimates that females aged 10 to 24 are 1/8 of the world's population. Many of them are the main providers for their families. Yet, in the developing world, many are unable to enjoy even the most basic human rights. And that's the VOA Special English Education Report. You can read, listen, and comment on our reports at voaspecialenglish.com. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and iTunes at VOA Learning English. This is the VOA Special English Education Report. The Obama administration says American schools should produce students who are college and career ready. What is the best way to do that? The National Center on Education and the Economy has some ideas. The center will be working with 8 states on a project to test board examination systems. Students who volunteer will take board examination classes similar to those found in other parts of the world. Once they pass the exams, they can leave high school as early as the end of the second year. Mark Tucker is president of this nonprofit organization. He says the aim is to make sure students finish high school with enough skills to succeed in at least a 2-year college. He says, in the United States, one is expected to go to high school for 4 years, and you get a diploma just for showing up or attending. It doesn't particularly attest to any level of accomplishment. What we're trying to do here is to change the system in the United States from one that is based on the time that is spent in the seat to one that is based on your actual accomplishments. The state projects will start as early as September of 2011. They will involve 10 to 20 high schools in each of 8 states. The states include Connecticut, Kentucky, Maine, and New Hampshire. The others are New Mexico, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Vermont. Some educators and parents do not like the idea of sending students as young as 16 off to college. They say the students may not be socially ready for college. But Mark Tucker says students who pass the exams could stay in high school and take a demanding set of exams at the upper division level. That program is designed to prepare students for entrance into a competitive college or university. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has provided more than $1 million to start the program. Mark Tucker says he expects interest in the idea to grow. He says, "Our hope is that this will become the way school is in the United States. It will become the dominant way of going to high school." And that's the VOA Special English Education Report. Does your country use a board examination system? Tell us about it. You can post your comments at our newly redesigned website, voaspecialenglish.com.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Parents are a child's first teachers, but some parents never learned from good examples. In New York City, a nonprofit agency called Covenant House tries to help homeless young mothers become good parents. The 12 or so teenagers who live at the shelter attend parenting classes 4 days a week. The class is called Mommy and Me. Teacher Dolores Clemens is a mother of 5 and a grandmother. She teaches basic skills, like how to give a baby a bath and how to dress a baby depending on the season. She remembers one student who learned from her mother not to pick up a crying baby. The mother said that would only make the child needy and overly demanding. Dolores Clemens told the student, "That's not true. You have to hold your baby. He is crying for a reason. If you never pick him up, he is going to keep crying. Pick your baby up. Cuddle your baby. Hug him." Dolores Clemens says her students also learn how to be good mothers by letting themselves be mothered. She said, "I'm doing something for them that never has been done for them before." Around 350 teenage mothers graduate from Covenant House's Mommy and Me class every year. Natasha is in class one day with her baby son. She lived on the streets. She is glad not only for the warmth and shelter of Covenant House, she is also glad for the help they offer in seeking a more secure life. She said, "They help you do your resume, your cover letter, and everything you need for a job interview. And they help you find a job." Some teenage mothers wish they could be children themselves again. 18-year-old Placida knows that feeling. She says being a mother is hard. She said, "You have to get up every 2 hours in the middle of the night, and you can't go out and say, 'I am going to buy this for myself.' No. I have to buy Pampers, clothes, and food." The World Health Organization says the United States has 41 births for every 1,000 girls age 15 to 19 per year. That is higher than other developed countries, as well as some developing ones. By comparison, Canada has 14 births for every 1,000 girls age 15 to 19, and Mexico has 82. And that's the VOA Special English Education Report. You can comment on this report at voaspecialenglish.com.
I'm Alex Villarreal with the VOA Special English Education Report. Most American schools have boys and girls in the same classroom, but a public high school in the small rural town of Boonesboro, Maryland, offers a special program. Top students in the 9th and 10th grades can attend single-sex classes for math, science, English, and social studies. The aim is to help teenagers keep their mind on their work by keeping males and females apart. Rebecca Brown chooses the students for what Boonesboro High School calls the Academy. She says, "What we really want to do is take that top group of kids and take them to the very highest level they can achieve here so that they're prepared for college." Placement in the Academy is voluntary. Students are invited after middle school. They need good grades, high test scores, and strong teacher recommendations. They also need to be involved in activities. Almost 350 students have taken part in the Academy. It began as an experiment in 2004. Michael Baer has been at Boonesboro High for 20 years and directs the Academy. His 9th grade English class for boys centers on books that he believes boys find interesting. One of those books, for example, is The Call of the Wild by Jack London. This classic story tells of a dog stolen from his home and sold to work as a sled dog during Canada's Klondike Gold Rush. On this day, the students are working in small groups. Two students explain why they are drawing pictures that relate to the story. Drawing helps them visualize the setting of the story and gets them to think more about the important events of the story. Morgan Van Fleet is a senior at Boonesboro High. She likes being in the academy. She says boys and girls act differently when they are together in a classroom. She says it is easier to focus on the lesson and the homework in a single-sex class. There is one activity that girls and boys in the academy do together. At the end of the day, many of them stay and help tutor students who are having trouble in school. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. Tell us what you think about single-sex classes. You can comment on our website, voaspecialenglish.com. You can also find transcripts and MP3s of our programs. And you can find us on Facebook and Twitter at VOA Learning English. This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Today we answer a question from a listener in Brazil who wants to know about the United States Military Academy at West Point. West Point is a college for future Army officers. It has more than 4,000 students. The students are called cadets. The school is located about 80 kilometers north of New York City. West Point is the oldest continuously occupied military post in the United States. General George Washington built a fort there during the Revolutionary War. The aim was to protect the Hudson River from the British soldiers. He moved his headquarters to West Point in 1779 in the middle of the war. In 1802, President Thomas Jefferson signed legislation to establish the military academy at West Point. The education centered on civil engineering. West Point graduates designed many roads, bridges, harbors, and railways for the young nation. Today, math and science are still a large part of the education, but cadets can choose from almost 50 areas of study. If cadets major in the humanities, they must also take many classes in engineering. Not all the young men and women at West Point are American. This year, 58 are from other countries. As many as 60 cadets can be international students. International students are nominated by their governments. They must satisfy physical and educational requirements. They must also do well on the test of English as a foreign language. After graduation, they return home to serve in their nation's armed forces. Other services besides the Army also accept foreign students at their academies. Major Joe Sowers, a West Point public affairs officer, says information about the military academy is available through American embassies. He says the presence of international students at West Point serves a purpose for the Army. Major Sowers says cultural understanding is important for a modern-day officer. He says the American cadets begin the process of understanding that the world is bigger than their hometown and West Point and the United States of America. He says it is important for the cadets to establish relationships with those who come from different backgrounds. And that's the VOA Special English Education Report. You can learn more about higher education in the United States from our Foreign Student series at voaspecialenglish.com.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. In 2009, Special English website users began posting comments about our stories on our website. The education reports have received many of those comments. We began the year in the middle of our Foreign Student series. These were reports about how foreign students could attend a college or university in the United States. The report that received the most comments, 73, told how to qualify for free training at an American community college. The next highest number of comments was 49. They were about a report on services at American colleges that help foreign students adjust to studying in the United States. Close behind, with 48 comments, was a report about financial aid. 47 comments followed a story about college student grade expectations. And 46 people wrote in reaction to our guide to writing college papers. Other education stories included the deaths of college test preparation pioneer Stanley Kaplan and music educator Bess Lomax Hawes. We explained the work of school nurses. We had a report about what foreign exchange students thought about American high schools. We discussed the California Digital Textbook Program as well as the use of digital textbooks in general. We talked to education experts about teaching handwriting, choosing a college, and publishing research in medical journals. And we looked at the job market for American college graduates as well as for foreign students who finish their educations at American colleges. Now, we would like your help. Please write with suggestions or questions you would like us to answer about American education. We might be able to answer them on this program. In December, for example, we answered a question about educational technology. And we are preparing to answer a few other questions. One is about educator John Dewey. Another is about the United States Military Academy at West Point. Post your comments and questions on our website, voaspecialenglish.com. You can also find transcripts, MP3s, and podcasts of our programs, including our Foreign Student series. We look forward to hearing from you. And that's the VOA Special English Education Report.